What's up, guys? I'm BTC. We just got a brand new patch on the live version of the game, and it has different changes for PC and console. We'll go over that in just a second. Also, Jeff Kaplan answered one of the most frequently asked questions about roll queue and a potential change that they could make. So we'll start with the patch notes that we just got for the live patch. It is essentially the same thing that we had on the PTR last week. They didn't make any changes to the stuff that was listed on the PTR. So very quick refresher on what that is. For Brigitte, her repair pack was nerfed in two different ways. First, the armor overheal was reduced from 75 down to 50, and then the healing per second was decreased from 60 down to 55. And in the developer notes, they say that she brings a lot of utility and they just wanted to nerf her healing. Now, Brigitte is getting used a little bit more because of the changes to all the characters and Brawl comp kind of coming back a little bit, but it kind of feels like it was a little early to make this nerf. Next is Symetra. She got a buff, which is on her alternate attack. This goes from 120 up to 140 damage. And they say that it just wants to play more effectively at a safer range when necessary. Now, Symetra did get used a little bit in the Overwatch League over the weekend, but that is primarily because the enemy team was running D.Va, and Symetra will just melt D.Va, like, really well. But if you try to use Symetra on the competitive ladder, you're probably still going to have a bad time. Next up is Widow. She also got a nerf, and in this case, it is the charge time on her scope went from 0.83 up to 1 second. And the developer's comment said that she's been getting stronger over time, particularly due to the barrier nerfs, and they just wanted to slow down her damage a little bit. And then the last one that was from the previous PTR was for Hammond, and this is a change to his pile driver. The affected player's loss of air control was reduced from 1 second down to 0.5 seconds. So when you go up in the air and you slam down, then they're just going to regain control a little bit faster. And this kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of the other changes that they've been making to Orisa, to Mei, just kind of making crowd control a little less effective. And they basically said that they just want the combos that you can use with the pile driver to be a little less effective. Now, the next couple changes I can't show you, not in game anyways, because they're console only. Now, they did this a while back with Torbjorn and Symetra, I believe, and I don't know if they ever reverted it once they changed Torbjorn, like when he got his rework and when Symetra got her 18th or 19th rework. I don't know if they just kind of threw that stuff out the window, but they are going back to making console-specific changes, which I think is a good thing, because just like how, there's some different impacts on different ranks and stuff, that you can kind of deal with by just getting better. But when you're playing on a controller versus a mouse and keyboard, there are certain differences that you need to account for. So what they're doing here is the console-only changes for Onna. The biotic rifle, the allied projectile size increased from 0.3 to 0.4. Now, this is allied projectile, meaning that it's only going to affect when you're trying to heal your teammates. Essentially, it's a little bit bigger, and it's now going to be a little bit easier for you to hit your teammates and to heal them, particularly at longer range. But when you're trying to do damage, it's not going to change anything. It's the same size. The other character that got a nerf is Symetra, who also just got that buff. So in this case, for console only, Symetra's sentry turret, the turret DPS was reduced from 34 down to 30. So apparently they believe the auto aim functionality is a little too good. I actually just talked about this in one of my recent Respawn videos, where someone asked if they would ever get rid of the turrets and stuff like that, and I don't think they're going to, right? Like, they're part of the game, and yeah, they're auto aim, but I just don't see Blizzard getting rid of them. So this is interesting change. If you are having difficulty with the character on console, the turrets will now do a little bit less damage. But again, for Onna and that Symetra change, there is no change for those things on PC. The other thing I wanted to talk about was a post that Jeff Kaplan made on the forums. He was answering a question about the role queue system and potentially breaking up the roles even more into kind of subcategories. So obviously you have the support right here, but you could break it up into a healer versus an off healer, right? That sort of thing. Or for tanks, which was the specific question that he got asked, you would have a tank or a bruiser or an off tank, right? You can have multiple roles and you could break up the role queue that way. So Jeff Kaplan responded by saying, it's an interesting suggestion, but the more buckets we add, the slower matchmaking will be. Overall, we want to reduce queue times, not impact them further. Hope this makes sense. So that answer is a big fat no. Now, some of the other issues is with the DPS, right? So like, how would you break that up? You could have, sniper, obviously, and you can have maybe, flanker. But some of these characters, like utility, right? Maybe you could just have like hit scan. You could just have useless. I mean, what are you gonna? There's too many categories that you could put in here, and like, how would you actually set up the role queue for that, right? So would every team have to have like one or the other, like one of each? Is that how it would work? Obviously, you wouldn't have like a flanker, a hit scan, and something else. You would just get one of two potentials. You could do that, right? But I don't know. Like, obviously, they're not going to do it. They're not interested in doing it. And I think one of the biggest issues with the queue times for role queue, particularly for the DPS, because tank and support always have really low queue times from every time I've ever looked at it. But DPS always has, 8-minute, 10-minute, 15, 20-minute queue times, whatever it is. And I think the solution is people just need to have more fun with the other characters, right? Like, they want to, and I've said this again and again, they want to pew, 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 and they just don't view these characters or these characters as being fun. And until that issue is addressed, you're always going to have lots and lots of players that only want to play DPS. So there you go, guys. That is the brand new patch, the unique changes for console, which I think is a good idea again. And also, role queue, probably not changing anytime soon. Now, I know a lot of you guys, again, don't care about the Overwatch League, but I think it is a little bit of good news that there was a pretty decent amount of variety in this last weekend's games, right? Like, I even saw Soldier 76 in there. I was like, who? What? What alternate universe is this where they're actually playing Soldier 76? And Genji was getting some decent play as well. I mean, it does seem like Brawl and Dive Comp are pretty much the two that are taking over. I mean, there was a little bit of double barrier still in there as well, but it was more like Reinhardt Orisa, I think, than Orisa Sigma. But in any case, so those are the changes, guys. What do you think about them? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell to get notified. You can get some cool gear, join my Discord server, or follow me on social media with the links down in the description below. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters, and remember, always blame the controller because it's never your fault.